Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at Arctibax with the new move Icy Wind in the Holiday Cup. This Pokemon is definitely an interesting one, but this team around it is going to be a little bit more spicy. We're going to have here the Palossand as a stay swap, and in the back we're going to have our Shadow Golurk. I wanted to play this team as well already from the beginning. Thought this would be a fun one, and it definitely was a fun one. But what I did not really expect and what I didn't really see is that my Palossand has still pretty horrific IVs. I actually caught like a way better one that I didn't build yet, so that's great for me. So I feel like a lot of the matchups that I maybe lost was kinda also because of my Palossand IVs, and so definitely something that I would change up in the future. I definitely have some decent ones that I got mainly from like my daily encounter that you get. Like I have so many of those sandcastles there for whatever reason, but we're going to not be able to get to another charge move here, but at least we're going to be able to get the debuff onto the opponent's Ferrothorn, Pokemon that you rarely really see. And honestly, this team is kind of trying to design to get a sweep at the end of the game with the Shadow Golurk in the back. Shadow Golurk is a fun one, can break basically the core of the Vigoroth plus the Lantern, so definitely a fun one to use, but also can break some fire type Pokemon as you can see here. But not only this, it also has coverage for normal type Pokemon like the Diggersby, and the Dynamic Punch is already going to be able to knock them down there, and so we can use a shield onto their charge move. It's going to be the Fire Punch, and we can easily win this first game. Let's move on to the second game. We're going to encounter here a Dunsparce in the lead. What you kind of want to do here is you kind of want to wait until they get 4 fast moves in, and then you can kind of swap out. Here the opponent didn't throw, which is kind of unfortunate, but they decided to go into the Frosters, allowing me to go for a bait first, because they have to kind of be careful about the Shadow Ball potential there, and now I can still try to go for another bait afterwards. Maybe I should have went for the Shadow Ball here, because it would have guaranteed me a shield, but I'm still going to be able to get a shield. But I don't really care too much about the shield. I kind of want to get realignment here, because if I don't have realignment, the opponent has so much energy that they're going to get rid of my shields anyway, so I'd rather just stay in this matchup, go for 2 shields, go for a Shadow Ball, and get rid of the opponent's Frostless, so at least I'm going to be able to not encounter this Pokemon anymore. We would see the opponent going back into their Dunsparce. They had 100 energy for sure, and I can go into my Golurk. But it's going to be a little bit of a trickier one. We have to hope that they're going to have something in the back that I can deal with my other Pokemon in the back, which is going to be, of course, our Arctibax. We have to see here. Dragon is coming through. It's going to be their own Golurk, and this is great. That's actually something that I expected. I think this is a team from Home Slice Henry, so that was kind of nice. I knew about this team, so that's kind of why I was able to play around it. And we will be able to win against the opponent because of that. So let's move on to the next game. Next game coming up, we're going to encounter the Altaria in the lead. We kind of want to play this a little bit differently. It's a little bit tricky to play this matchup out. It's most likely one of the worst possible matchups that you could encounter. I think it would be way better if the Palossand had better IVs though, because you have to swap out eventually into the Palossand, which is going to be okay. You kind of want to get a shield with the Dragon Claw or like the Icy Wind, and then swap into the Palossand to knock them out with a Shadow Ball. But let's see if that's going to work out. We're going to get the Shadow Ball off, but they decided to use a shield here, and again, I'm fairly certain I would have been able to still reach a move if I just had better IVs. And again, at this point of time, I did not know about it. I just know about it when I did the graphic for the background, so that's kind of sad for me. I thought I had better IVs because I have actually a great CP on the Pokemon, but CP doesn't matter in terms of like how good a Pokemon is. If the IVs are not great, it does not matter how good your CP are. But here we're going to still encounter the Vigoroth. They're going to go for body slam, which is kind of nice for me, and I decided to go for the full farm down, and I could actually still win this game. But sadly, as you're going to see now, I am going to be able to go for the Shadow Punch. But if I knew what they had in the back, I would have played this a little bit differently. As we're going to see afterwards, we can go for the full farm down here. I needed a little bit more energy. It's going to be a Trevenant in the back, and sadly, Shadow Punch is a pretty bad move, so it does not get the knockout, and so we're going to lose this game. But still a good game to the opponent. Close one there. Next opponent coming through. Let's see what we're going to encounter here. We're going to encounter a Dragonite in the lead. So again, you kind of want to stay in here. There are 2 different ways I'm playing this one out. You could just go for the full farm down, or you try to catch a move, even though now catching a move doesn't really make too much sense against the Dragonite. Against other Dragon type Pokemon it would work out. But here we're going to have the Magnezone coming in, which is fine for us because we're going to have 2 ground type Pokemon in the back. So I don't really care about getting walled here by the Gligar with my Palossand, especially as I can still reach a Scorching Sense, which the opponent, because I know actually the opponent is very, very good at the game as well, knows that this is just a Scorching Sand, I will be able to still let this move go through. I got the debuff as well, which is more beneficial for the opponent, to be fair. But I can still go for the Icy Wind here, debuff the opponent's attack, and I can let the move go through. But the opponent lets the move go through, hoping that they can win with a Magnezone, but look at the damage of Mudslap, holy hell. Next opponent, let's see what they're going to run. We're going to have the Arctibax against a Dunsparce. This is going to be, again, kind of like the similar matchup in the beginning. You kind of want to swap out after 4 of the opponent's fast moves. And this time around, it seems to work out pretty well. As you're going to see that the opponent is going to go for the Rock Slide, which is going to be resisted. Now they can go for the Drill Run if they want to, which is fine. But I can still go for some charge moves, and again we're going to encounter a Froster swapping in here. So it could be very likely that there's going to be in the back again the Golurk from the opponent, and I kind of have to keep my, what's called my Arctibax a little bit healthy here. We will see that I use a shield onto the Avalanche. I have a ton of energy already, and I have to go for 2 Dragon Claws here. I am not going to be able to keep a Dragon Claw like for anything else afterwards, or actually I have to use a shield here, never mind. The opponent still gets to another charge move, but like this, at least I can go for the full farm down. They're going to have the Dunsparce in the back. I have to go for the Icy Wind. They still got an extra fast move in. I cannot count for a rollout. Like, rollout is so difficult for me just visually to count, and they're going to go for another Rock Slide, which I'm going to be able to catch on the Golurk, and they have a Palossand in the back. Not what I expected, but it's still okay for me. I will be able to go for a Shadow Punch and get the shield from the opponent. Not the Golurk that I expected, but still the exact same typing. So we will see the Scorching Sands coming through. Can I still reach the Icy Wind? I will be able to still reach the Icy Wind, but can I also still knock out the opponent's other Dunsparce there? I just barely going to be able to win this game, and let's move on to the next one. Decent lead for me. Definitely decent lead, as the opponent decides to swap out into the Vigoroth, and I can just swap into my Golurk. Here, maybe I should have actually went into my other Pokemon though. Like, Palossand has a better matchup compared to the Golurk, because here you have to go basically for the Dynamic Punch, while Scorching Sands is just easier to reach. And here we see that the opponent just going to let this go through, and they also decide to go into the Lantern again, so they're going to be weak against ground types, and they just already had enough. So goodbye there. Let's move on to the next one. Next opponent coming in, I know that I battle them quite often. They're going to have a Dubwool in the lead, which is not really ideal for me. I'm going to overfarm by a little bit and try to catch a move here, which does work out quite well. It is going to be a little bit tricky. You're going to see it later on as well, I think, with this matchup. Of course, the opponent could have access to the Dark-type move here, and sadly, they're actually going to completely hardwall me with a Mana Buster coming in. So I decided to go for the double resisted Scorching Sand, hoping for the attack drop, which I'm actually going to be able to get here, which is quite lucky. But of course, now I can go for the Shadow Ball, which does a little bit more damage there. But still, I can survive. Most likely a move here. The Dark Pulse is coming through, and I have a move start already on my little lizard boy in the lead there, my dragon. Going to be able to go for hopefully the Icy Wind and knock them out with that. Let's take a look at this one. They should hopefully go down from this. It's going to be super effective. It's going to be stab, but they actually decide to use a shield anyway. And now I can take the move here anyway, because the opponent is double debuffed in the attack. And I don't really want to use my shields yet, because I feel like Golurk might have some play, especially with a normal type there. So I decided to go into my Golurk and I use a shield. And the opponent makes a great play, because they go for the Body Slam. And so they still haven't revealed what actual move they're going to run here. And they decided to use another shield. And at this point you might already know what they actually run. And luckily the opponent was so kind and showed me as well. They're actually running Wild Charge, which is way worse for me. And they're going to go back into the Mana Burst. I can at least still go for a Dynamic Punch and knock them out. But if I just didn't use a shield, I would have been most likely fine in this matchup, but it kind of showcases also how mind games are a thing here. The opponent didn't have coverage for me, but of course, like, the standard moveset is that you're going to run Payback on the Dubwool there. So it is kind of what it is, but good game there. Well played with the, basically with the baits there. 2 times shielding a double resisted move is kind of hard on me. Let's take a look at the next opponent. Let's see what they're going to run. We're going to encounter here the Arctibax against the Dragonite. Again, a Dragonite there, this time around a shiny variant though, so that's going to be an interesting one. I can go ahead and go for the Dragonclaw against them, but as you see, I'm going to use a shield. It's going to be a Dragonclaw against me as well. And here, maybe I should have just tried to go for the full farm down. But it looked like we had kind of the same amount of HP, so I didn't want to risk it. And we see both Pokemon that they're going to have in the back. They're going to have the Ninetales in the back, the Shadow variant of it. But also, they're going to have here the Skeledirge, where we can at least still go for 1 Scorching Sands. And you see me letting this move go through. And I feel like at this point, it is Golurk time. Especially as I can go for a Scorching Sands here, that's going to get the final shield from the opponent. I can just swap out into my Arctibax, and so I can let this next move go through from the opponent. It's going to be the Disarming Voice, and I can just swap into my Golurk, going for a shield against the opponent as well. It's going to be a Disarming Voice, but the opponent swapped into the Shadow Ninetales, and you can see it coming as well. The Dynamic Punch is going to do so much damage against the opponent. Goodbye there, that the Golurk can just farm them down, and let's move on into the second to last battle. Honestly, this video is a little bit shorter than usual, but it's still like 10 games here, which is kind of wild. It is just how fast this team can outplace, especially with like the very squishy Pokemon in the back there. But here we're going to encounter the Obama Snow. Great lead for me because I don't want to encounter it in the back. They're actually running the Icy Wind, which is a little bit trickier for us. But I make a little bit of a mistake here. Show went for the Dragon Claw straight away and shouldn't just try to go for a little bit more energy. I think it was definitely a mistake by me, but I can go for another Dragon Claw here. And what I can do now as well, I can swap out into my Palossand. Turns out they're going to have the Altaria in the back, which is going to be a little bit of a trickier one for me. So I can at least go for a Shadow Ball. But here again, it feels like I would most likely get like some kind of bulk point if I had actual IVs on my Palossand and not like raid IVs from the first time I showcased it. And I feel like I would have still been able to go for a Shadow Ball there. Maybe I can still get a shield here. Hopefully I do not. And so yeah, this is actually really, really bad for me. So definitely better IVs on Palossand would have saved me quite a few games. And they have the Jellicent in the back, so it doesn't really matter anyway, and decide to forfeit there. If you haven't seen my video about Jellicent as well, definitely would recommend you. Jellicent is a really good meta pick currently. Here we want to encounter the Sableye. Most likely should go straight for a Dragon Claw here, but I decided not to for no particular reason, to be fair. Like, I feel like this was a little bit of a misplay by me. But they decided to swap out into the Lantern. And again, I could have swapped out immediately into my Golurk and most likely had a little bit of a better time, but I decided to stay in. Like, I don't know. I don't actually know why I did this. And also, I should have swapped out here immediately, but we have a little bit of lag. And this lag allows the opponent just barely to reach a Surf now, which is really bad for me as well. I would have been able to farm down otherwise. So they're gonna do a ton of damage against me. I can at least still go for another charge move, but it's going to be against a Diggersby, so like everything kind of goes against me here. Some on my issue basically, but some also on the game issue there because, yeah, again, like I was supposed to get to the, like I should have swapped out earlier there, but it was a little bit laggy, so I lost the turn and the turn kind of screwed me over later on. So here we're going to be able to at least still get rid of the Sableye of the opponent. As I can swap out into my Arctibax, I can at least get some debuffs in, and so the game is actually still not over. And we will see that here as well. Scorching Sand is coming through, Icy Wind is coming through. And it is kind of the same story that we had over the entire video today. I'm not going to be able to get to another move here, which is okay. But you're going to see how much damage the opponent's Scorching Sand is doing. It is just barely, I think, enough to two-shot me. And again, imagine, I had better IVs on my Palossand. I think out of the losses that I had here in today's video, I think nearly all of them I would have been able to win if I just had better IVs on this Pokemon. So kind of showcases IV do kind of matter. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you later for a Master League video most likely. Bye bye.